Malcolm Gladwell, a best-selling author and journalist who explores the hidden factors that shape our behavior and decisions in his book, Talking to Strangers. In this book, he investigates why we often fail to understand and communicate with people we don't know, and how this can lead to serious consequences and tragedies. Let's get started. The main premise of Talking to Strangers is that we have a stranger problem, which is our inability to make sense of the people we encounter who are different from us. Gladwell argues that we tend to rely on faulty strategies and assumptions when we talk to strangers, such as the default to truth, which is our tendency to believe what people say unless we have strong reasons to doubt them. The illusion of transparency, which is our belief that we can read people's emotions and intentions from their facial expressions and body language. The mismatch problem, which is the discrepancy between how people appear and how they really are, especially when they are lying or hiding something. The context problem, which is our failure to consider the situation and circumstances that influence people's behavior and choices. Gladwell illustrates these problems with various examples from history, psychology, and current events, such as the case of Sandra Bland, a black woman who died in police custody after a routine traffic stop escalated into a confrontation and arrest. The case of Ana Montes, a Cuban spy who worked for the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency for 16 years without being detected. The case of Amanda Knox, an American student who was accused and convicted of murdering her roommate in Italy, based on dubious evidence and media coverage. The case of Bernie Madoff, a Wall Street financier who ran a massive Ponzi scheme that defrauded thousands of investors for decades. The case of Neville Chamberlain, the British Prime Minister who tried to appease Adolf Hitler before World War II based on his personal impressions of the Nazi leader. Gladwell shows how these cases reveal the flaws and limitations of our strategies for dealing with strangers, and how they can have devastating outcomes for individuals and society. He also suggests some possible solutions and alternatives, such as being more cautious and humble when we talk to strangers and acknowledging the gaps and uncertainties in our knowledge and judgment. Being more aware and critical of our biases and expectations, and challenging the stereotypes and narratives that shape our perception of strangers. Being more empathetic and curious when we talk to strangers, and trying to understand their perspective and context rather than imposing our own. Being more open and honest when we talk to strangers, and expressing our feelings and intentions clearly and respectfully. Gladwell concludes the book by reminding us that talking to strangers is an essential and inevitable part of our lives, and that we should not avoid or fear it, but embrace and improve it. He says that talking to strangers can enrich our lives, broaden our horizons, and foster a more diverse and inclusive society. He also says that talking to strangers can be difficult and risky, but also rewarding and meaningful. Here are some quotes from the book that capture some of the main ideas and insights. We think we can see into the hearts of others based on the flimsiest of clues. We are nuanced and complex and enigmatic, but the stranger is easy. You believe someone not because you have no doubts about them. Belief is not the absence of doubt. You believe someone because you don't have enough doubts about them. The right way to talk to strangers is with caution and humility. To assume the best about another is the trait that has created modern society. Those occasions when our trusting nature gets violated are tragic. But the alternative, to abandon trust as a defense against predation and deception, is worse. The conviction that we know others better than they know us, and that we may have insights about them they lack, but not vice versa, leads us to talk when we would do well to listen and to be less patient than we ought to be when others express the conviction that they are the ones who are being misunderstood or judged unfairly. The first set of mistakes we make with strangers, the default to truth and the illusion of transparency, has to do with our inability to make sense of the stranger as an individual. But on top of those errors we add another, which pushes our problem with strangers into crisis. We do not understand the importance of the context in which the stranger is operating. The holy fool is a truth teller because he is an outcast. Those who are not part of existing social hierarchies are free to blurt out inconvenient truths or question things the rest of us take for granted. That's it for this summary of Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel for more book summaries.